Well, today's another video where I question what really is it that I'm doing with my life. Let's get started. Welcome to the Sewing Machine Repair Guide. Today we have a Husqvarna Viking Tribute 140C. This machine, the problem is there's something wrong with the bobbin winder. I guess it's winding kind of slow. So we're going to check that out and see what we can find, as well as doing a normal cleaning and everything on this machine. Let's get started. The first thing I'd like to do on this machine is actually just try it out and see how it does. Now, the machine was left threaded for us, but I'm going to unthread it. I am going to use their thread that they've already got installed, and we'll just give this a try here. These machines are kind of odd, so you thread your bobbin through the needle. So you have to be threaded through your needle, and then your bobbin goes like this. So what you can see here is that the path that the thread takes, there's little metal bars here that protect the plastic from this thread that's going from the needle all the way up. So it forms a line from the needle through this little right here, and then onto our bobbin. This really doesn't seem that slow to me. I'm going to try something. Okay, it won't let me lower the... Well, that's good. Does it let me do this with the presser foot lowered? Aha, it raises it. Okay, that's interesting. I didn't know it did that. So if you try to wind a bobbin with the presser foot lowered, it raises it automatically. So you can't make that mistake on this machine. Alright, well, we are going to go ahead and clean this out anyway and see what we can see on our bobbin winder, because the user says that that's slow. It seems okay to me, but maybe I would expect it to go faster. It is a possibility. Alright, we've done some initial checks. We wound a bobbin, and so let's go ahead and get to the teardown. In our emergency Husqvarna repair kit, which one day I might make a little box that says break glass in case of Husqvarna Viking. But we got a T10, a T20, and then sometimes we even need our T15. And this might be one of those machines that needs a T15, but we'll see as we get into it. So while I'm tearing this machine down, we'll talk a little bit about Husqvarna Viking. This is one of my favorite machines to work on in general, and the reason for that is because they make the machines so that they can be worked on. I make fun of having, using the same tools, maybe having an emergency in case of Husqvarna toolkit, but really that's because they've done a good thing in how they design their machines to be taken apart using the same tools. So they help out technicians and they make their machines serviceable. They sell parts and all these things that are nice. At least for a short period of time they sell parts, for a few years. Eventually they want you to buy a new machine and they'll stop working on them, which is not great. But in general, their machines, ever since, like 70s, 80s, I'm not sure when they started, the same sort of pattern for putting these machines together with the same screws, and pieces. But I mean, they're actually a joy to work on, because if you've taken one apart, you can take pretty much all of them apart. The other thing I like about them is that they do actually carry on parts from one model year to the next. So the motor in this looks very similar, and I didn't check part numbers or anything, but it looks very similar to motors that they've been using for many, many years. Now that we've got this machine apart, we want to kind of get ourselves acquainted with this machine a little bit. This is not an embroidery machine, so that T15 was not required. I'm pretty sure the T15 Torx is needed when you have an embroidery machine where there's a connector there in the back that you've got to disconnect to get the back piece off. So we didn't have to use that today. Up here is where we're going to be focusing to see if maybe we can speed this up over here. We need to understand how this mechanism works, and then is there something in here that's slowing it down. And then we're just going to do regular service. So there's a lot of dust in here that needs to be cleaned out, so we're going to blow this machine out, clean it out, and then lubricate everything. And when I say everything, I mean any piece that you have metal adjacent to metal. So I don't lubricate any plastic pieces, but you're going to have 4 bushings. There's 2 on the top, 1 here, 1 over here, right there. 2 on the bottom, 1 over here, and then 1 is usually right back, yeah, right there. And these bushings are what the shaft, so you have 2 shafts, the upper shaft here, the lower shaft here. That's what those shafts ride on to have a smooth turning. Those bushings are technically permanently lubricated, so they have oil that's impregnated into there. It's like a sponge metal, but the oil does evaporate or get, come out of there over time. So we are going to put some oil on there. I just use regular mineral oil based oil, so the clear oil you get at any sort of store that sells sewing machines, they have that same oil there, so that's fine. If you buy it in bulk, you can get a gallon jug of lily white oil, which is pretty much the same stuff. So I'm going to take this back, we're going to blow this out, we're going to do our lubrication, and then we'll come back and we'll see if we can figure out what's going on with slowing down our bobbin winder, which to me didn't seem like it was that slow, but maybe there is something in there that's slowing it down a little bit. We'll talk about this mechanism a little bit here. So our bobbin winder mechanism, the way this works is when you push this over, you have a wheel, so there's a rubber tire on there, and that wheel, when you push this over, engages, and then this there's spring pressure that pushes it against this wheel right here. So this wheel is your hand wheel's over here, and if you look over here on this side, you got the motor and then a little tensioner, and then it goes up to, as I pull the belt off, that tensioner pulls tension on this belt, and so when I engage the bobbin winder, this little rubber tire that's on this bobbin winder engages with this wheel. So this is the side where your hand wheel is, right? So the motor is turning your hand wheel, and it's turning the bobbin winder, and that's all it's turning. So the rest of the machine is not turning at all. And then when I release this, then it releases the clutch, and the entire machine starts to move. So it should be easier to spin when it's just spinning this part. And I've got a little bit of friction here, so I don't know if that's normal or not. We're going to figure that out, because it really doesn't feel to me much different between now and now. So one thing that I just did was I put a little drop of motor on each end of the shaft of the motor. So we have a little bit of oil there, a little drop of oil on each side of the shaft of the motor where it has brass bushings there, or bronze, probably bronze if I were to guess. And then next thing I want to do is take off, I want to loosen, so you've got your metal shaft that goes through the top, and then on here you have this little metal collar, and that collar is pushing up against here, and I want to make sure that there's no goop or anything underneath there that's providing extra friction. Not seeing a lot of goop in there. What I will do, and this is one of those rare instances, I am going to put a little drop of oil in there. The mineral oil is what I'm going to use for this one. So I'm going to clean it first and then put a little drop of mineral oil, because this plastic is rotating on the metal pieces. And then I also see a little spring catch in there, so there may be an adjustment here that we have to do when we put it back together, but we shall see. So this turns really easily without anything else on it. And that's turning the whole sewing machine. Oh, there's one more thing I wanted to try before I put that back together. So we're going to take it apart one more time, because I like to undo things I just did. I forgot to check the movement of this. And the only way to do that is not have any load on it while it's turning. So that turns pretty easily. Well, I just figured out the little trick here. This has 2 little slots right here. I don't know if you can see any of this, but we're going to try. And then so when you get the slots lined up, you can pull it right off. And the way this looks is there's a pin that goes right down the middle of this shaft right here. And this won't come apart, so what I'm going to do is put a drop of oil right down in there. We want to eliminate any of the issues with friction in this motor. Motor? Sewing machine? Yeah. All those. Okay. So now I'm going to put the spring back. So that goes there. And that slides in there. Okay. Tighten one of those, make sure this moves. To be honest, I can't really feel too much of a difference, but we did take it apart, clean it, and put it back together. The only thing else that could be an issue is the motor. The motor seems to be fine, and the oil we put in there will work its way in as we run the motor more. So we're just going to give this some time running, see if it'll free up everything. And again, like, to me it seemed like this was moving fast enough, but I don't use this machine every day. The person that brought it to me does. And so that's why we're doing everything we can to make this machine work the way that it's supposed to. Because if they used it every day and they've noticed that it's slower winding bobbins, then it's slower winding bobbins. And we're going to do what we can to get it working better. While we've got this thing apart, I want you to take a look at this bobbin case. So if you look inside here, you might be able to see there's a couple of pieces of garbage in there. If you see, there's one right there. And then there's also one right there. And there's a couple of streaks of stuff over here. So we want to get that off when you're sewing with your machine. If there's anything in this area, because that's where your bobbin goes, and then the edges of this bobbin are touching the edges around there on the bottom. It's got to be clean. If it's not clean, then you're going to have issues with tension because your bobbin is harder to move than it should be because there's gunk that's rubbing up against it. So we just want to clean that out. I use the wooden end of these little swabs, and it comes right up. It's really easy to clean out, but it's something you want to keep an eye on in a machine that you've been using for a while. So I've gotten all those little pieces of gunk up. That's all it was, not very much. And then I use the cotton end of that swab to go around and make sure we got everything. So now we have the machine put back together enough to test, and I've got it threaded. I'm using my own thread because I don't need to waste the customer's thread on winding bobbins. So we're going to try it. We're going to see if we can notice a difference. It may take a little bit for the motor to run faster and faster as it goes, but we shall see. Sometimes the problem with your machine is the screwy operator. That's me. Ooh. Oh. We're having a problem. Now it's going slow. Well, why is it going slow? It wasn't doing that a minute ago. Ah. Hold on. Is that our problem all along? Was that our problem all along? See that button right there? See what it says? Speed. Well, I will tell you that this machine has the cleanest bobbin winder of any other machine out there right now. Now that's a good bobbin right there. Well, apparently speed matters. Oh boy. It doesn't tell you anything on the screen while you're doing that. Yeah, I think this is an instance where I should have read the manual. Alright. Well, we fixed another machine, and I think that, I mean, the machine did need to be cleaned and oiled and all that. It was due for service. But it's just frustrating when you get a machine and you take everything apart and then you realize that it may have just been the wrong speed selected. But hey, it's a clean machine and it's working great. Thanks for watching.